Hey everyone, welcome. And I'm really glad that you took the time to be here today. I'm your host, Jared Nassif. I'm the Director of Business Development here at BAI. And today's session is called Your Next Move: How to Monetize Your Franchise Expertise as a Registered BAI Broker. Now, on behalf of myself and our team, our amazing panel we have today, I want you to know how much that we genuinely respect and admire each of you. People like you have so many options, I think, at your disposal, and many opportunities that are genuinely fighting for your attention, right? And the fact that you have chosen to join us today with an open mind really is a privilege that I do not take lightly. Okay, drop your questions in the comments as we go along today, but it's going to be a great conversation today. Let me start here. This is the kind of story that I hear often, and maybe some of you can relate to. Okay, you've had a great career, right? You've acquired a considerable amount of experience. You've had success. You've learned how business actually works, but at some point, you kind of hit this moment where you go, I don't necessarily want to keep doing what I'm doing, but I also don't want to just throw away everything that I've learned, throw it all away and just start over. And that is a tough place to be, because most options they really do feel like one of those two extremes, right? Either you got to stay where you are, which has been good, it's been successful, you found value in it, or you either have to blow it all up and start again from scratch, from zero. And most people don't realize that there is a third option, and it's a model. This third option is a model where your experience becomes the product of your business. It's a model where your judgment, your insight, your ability to advise, that becomes the value you provide. And it's a model where your ability to guide others, that becomes the business in and of itself. And that's what we are going to unpack here today. Here at BAI, we have been a leader in the franchising space since 1991. Our industry is quite unique because it's been a staple in the franchising industry for a long time, and yet still many people don't know about it. Many people have not heard about it. They're not aware of it, including some really high level business leaders, business owners, and even franchisees. And that's our goal today, and as a business in general, as a corporation in general, is to make sure that people like you are aware of this opportunity. Okay. We also want to take it a step further for you joining us today. And we want to help you understand key insights about this opportunity. This is not a webinar about what is franchising. Okay. This is a conversation about how to take the experience that you've already earned and turn it into a business of your own. So today we're going to walk through what a registered broker actually does. We're going to talk about how our network, the BAI network, can become the launching pad for your success. We're going to talk about what this business model really does look like. Okay. And I think most importantly, we're going to unpack what your next step would look like if this resonates with you. Because I truly believe, for the right person, this isn't about starting over. This is about starting smarter. This is about taking everything you've already done and putting it into practice, into a highly lucrative business that gives you more control. It gives you more freedom. It gives you more flexibility. And if that idea alone has your attention, then you're exactly in the right place. Okay. Now, before we get to introductions, before we go any further, I want to quickly set some expectations for this call today. Okay. This conversation I want to talk about is who this is for and who this is not for. Okay. This conversation today really is for people who have meaningful business experience or franchise experience. Okay. This is for people who still want to stay in the entrepreneurship game, but they're looking for a different role. This is for people who want more flexibility. They desire more flexibility, but they don't want to sacrifice income potential. Okay. This is also going to be for people who enjoy advising, that they visualize the role of themselves as a coach, and that excites them. Okay. They enjoy the idea of guiding and connecting other people. And it's also for people who want to build a business without employees, without inventory, without real estate, without build outs, without any of those things. Okay. On the flip side, though, this call is not for someone looking for these things. It's not for someone really looking for just a passive income investment. That's not what this is. This is not going to be something for someone who needs instant result, immediate gratification. That's not this business. All right. This is also not going to be someone who needs external supervision. We're not going to call you to get you up out of bed in the morning, right? This is also not for people who are financially ill prepared. You want to be well funded and prepared to start your business and give yourself enough runway to build it successfully. And then lastly, this is not for someone who is apathetic or pessimistic. Okay. We're looking for people who have empathy, who can relate and understand someone well enough to speak into it well, and also someone who can remain optimistic regardless of the obstacles or hurdles that happen when building a business, as many of you know. So, again, with all this, I want to be clear. This is your business. Okay. Now, I am not going to go at this conversation alone. I'm not going to walk through this alone with you. We've got a great panel with us today. And I want to bring him in. So first of all, John Jones is our VP of Operations. John works directly with our brokers. He handles much of the training, the coaching, and helping people actually build and grow this business day after day. John, so glad you could join us today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks for putting this together, and welcome everybody. Look forward to talking about your next move.
Yeah, absolutely. And today as well, we have a former superstar franchise consultant who was actually asked to bring her talent to the corporate side of BAI and to help others succeed in this unique business. And she is now president of BAI, Gina Johnson. Gina, welcome. Glad that you're here.
Yeah, thank you. And welcome, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. And later in the webinar as well, we're also going to bring in Deb Tandy. Deb is a former franchisee owner who decided to leverage her business experience and her passion for coaching and mentoring to become a BAI consultant. So I know that you'll be able to relate to her story really well. She's a great example of how someone can leverage their business knowledge, their business experience, and transition it into a home-based solo entrepreneur consulting business, and also is enjoying both financial success and the lifestyle freedom that comes with this business. So later on, you're going to have a chance to learn firsthand from someone who's doing this, who's building this, and recently made her own next move into franchise consulting with BAI. So Gina, let's start here. Can you tell us a little bit more about the BAI story and how BAI has been able to become one of the most trusted organizations in this industry?
Absolutely. And like you said, Business Alliance was founded in 1991. One of maybe two that started right around that same time. And we moved our corporate office to Seattle, Washington in 2005.
Yeah.
I became a broker 2011 and then went to the corporate office in 2013. And the premise with the business was really franchising is an amazing business model when everybody wins. And that's kind of what started it, meaning when there's successful franchisors with their business model, it then leads to those successful franchisees and that whole kind of what wrapped the reason behind all of this and how consultants can help clients find these different types of franchises.
Right. What's that phrase? The rising tide raises all boats, right? That's the idea, right? Is successful partnerships, right? So, and there's a lot of people on this call right now that they are experienced, right? They're very capable. They've done a lot already in their life, but now many of them are trying to kind of figure out that question: what is my next move? What's the smartest next move for me? Gina, from your perspective, why is franchise consulting such a compelling model right now?
Well, the franchise industry in whole, basically it's a very strong and resilient industry. In fact, I was looking at the IFA economic report for 2025, and the franchise establishments grew faster really than the overall GDP in 2025. I think there were over 210,000 franchises that came on.
Yeah.
So according to IFA, 2026, it's going to be even stronger, and that growth is going to continue.
Yeah, which is exciting. And for those of you who registered really just this afternoon, you might not have received it, but for everyone else who pre-registered within the past few weeks, I took the liberty of taking a lot of the information insights of that recently released economic outlook report, kind of condensed it into 7 takeaways, and threw that in a document and shared it. I'll make sure I send that to all of you if you're on the call and you did not receive that this afternoon. I'll make sure I get that in your hands. But why do you think, Gina, experienced professionals like our audience today are uniquely positioned to succeed in this business, franchise consulting?
Well, I think they automatically bring the real world kind of savvy and experiences.
Yeah.
You come with communication skills, strong communication skills. You already have some credibility in the business world, which is extremely important.
Yeah.
And whether they're an entrepreneur or come from the CEO corporate environment, you can relate to candidates. You can speak from experiences, and that brings an immense amount of value.
Yeah, right. That it instantly builds that rapport that allows you to speak into another person's decision. This is, as all of you know, this is a massive decision someone would be making, right? So let's get really practical with this. John, when someone hears franchise consultant or broker, I think it can feel still a little abstract. So can we simplify it a little bit? At a high level, what does a BAI broker actually do?
Yeah, let's simplify it. That's always a good thing to do. Clarity is power in a chaotic world. But yeah, in a nutshell, we help people transition into franchising. But within that, though, here's what we know. We know that the right fit is critical. It just is. Investing in a franchise, it's not about finding the best franchise, because it's not the stock market. It's an opportunity. It's a relationship. It's a partnership. And so the right fit becomes essential and becomes a leading indicator as to whether or not someone is going to be successful. Kind of like that the hockey coach for the Miracle Hockey Team USA. Remember a long time ago in that movie, he said, I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right players. And that's really critical component in franchising, is the right match.
Yeah.
And so helping a potential franchisee find that right franchisor partner where it's a great opportunity, when those two things come together, it's really magical. It really creates a very successful situation. So the role of the franchise consultant is to ensure that takes place, especially when a franchisee is stepping into unknown territory. As you said, the stakes are high. It's a dynamic decision with a lot of complexity to it, finding the right fit. And our consultants are able to help our clients through this process, navigate this decision using their experience and the resources we provide to help them do that. And just kind of a practical analogy to think about this position would be, think of a buyer's real estate agent. A good real estate agent is going to get to know you and, of course, what you're looking for in your home and your budget and all those things. And then they're going to help you go find a home that meets that criteria. But I think you guys all agree, an even better agent, it's going to go deeper, right? They're going to really understand what your family's looking for and help you find a good vibe and neighborhood, the decor, safety. They're going to find other things that maybe you don't think about. And then they're going to utilize their expertise and their resources to help you find the right home, because it's such an important decision. And that's what we have the opportunity to do for our clients in franchising, is help them find that right fit, that right home, that right vehicle to take them and their family where they want to go financially and as an opportunity. So it's very rewarding.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. I always like to point out that it feels like, though, that the biggest differences between this and realtor is this requires way less paperwork and open houses.
That's right. No doubt about it.
Yeah. But how
your territory is the whole country.
Yeah, right. The territory is the whole country. You're not, that's a good point, that you're not bound to just the city you live in either. So how should people, do you think, how should they think about this role? Are they selling then? Is it advising? Is it Is it guiding, coach? How should we best think about this role of a consultant?
Yeah, great point. I think the best, salespeople today realize that selling is the result, that of course is part of it, but the role that you're playing is, you've got to step into this role of being a trusted advisor.
Mhm.
Again, you have to be the kind of person that can really empathize at a high level.
Yeah.
You need to be really good at that. There's only so much we can teach within that. We need people that are great, trusted advisors to empathize with people strongly, because you need this person to confide in you to help you make a really important decision, right? And then another part of this would be, I would say, that matchmaker, always studying, always learning about opportunities, and then getting to know your clients so you can make those matches, right?
Yeah.
And then the third component I would say is you got to get into this coach mentor role as well. You got to encourage people and inspire them and, help them realize that they could do this and they've got what it takes and those kinds of things, playing that encouraging mentor coach is part of the equation too. So toggling between those three roles is really important, and where you find this most rewarding. It's a great opportunity for those who resonate with those roles.
Yeah, wow, that's good. I think one of the biggest misconceptions I see many people have is that this is not transactional selling of a brand to a potential buyer, right? You're trying to help the right person find the right fit. Now, this is where I think a lot of people get this wrong. Not all broker opportunities or networks are created equal. They're definitely not all the same. Gina, can you speak into that for us a little bit? Becoming a BAI broker, it's not a franchise opportunity. Okay. So can you explain the relationship between BAI and our consultants?
Yes. There are a couple models that are a franchise model. I do think they're limited to a territory where it's a little bit more stricter rules.
It's true.
This is business opportunity. Each of our brokers are independent business owners, and we are a network. Business Alliance is a network of independent business, professionals that like to support in the franchise industry. So we have the suppliers, the franchisors, and the brokers, and all of us are the business professionals. One of the things that you hear kind of a saying is always like, you be in business for yourself, not by yourself, and that's kind of the benefit of this model and the support.
Yeah, that's good. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what makes BAI different then, especially as it relates to the support and resources that we provide? Can you speak into that a little?
Yes. So one of the things I think what we're really proud of is, our foundation. We have a very strong foundation. We're known in the industry as being personable, authentic, transparent, and that's something I've been very proud of as our business grows. Um, our acronyms for what we believe in is that care, the collaboration, accountability, respect, ethical in our leadership and a lot of our decision makings. So those values really help define Business Alliance and the type of people we look for.
Yeah. Wow. And those are one of the biggest reasons why I joined this network myself as well, as those values, especially the respect, the ethical, the accountable. Like there's a lot of manipulation that can happen in selling in general, but in franchising. And that's not who we are as a network, as we are looking for people who prioritize people. And so that's spot on. Can you tell us, how should someone think about the value of being a part of a network in general versus doing this independently? Why shouldn't they just go off and do it all themselves?
I think being part of a network, really the biggest part is about leverage, because you're able to, the network multiplies your access to opportunities, resources, and what we put a lot of effort into is that support side too. You're not alone. So it's very positive for your business model.
Yeah. Can you talk about live events and maybe the upcoming conference here in Salt Lake City? And while you do, actually, I have some photos too. I can kind of scroll through and show our audience as well. Then kind of get a feel of BAI and the network in general. But talk about some of these live events and our upcoming conference.
Perfect. Yes. Business Alliance has done multiple different live events. Our franchise partners will host different events throughout the years that the brokers can go to. In the past, we've done some regional events. About 3-4 years ago, we did our first national conference. This business is all about relationships. And so we have taken, our core values and kind of mesh them into an event that we feel is so beneficial to both our franchise partners and our brokers and our suppliers. It's 3 to 4 days. This year, it's going to be in Salt Lake City. The one we're seeing here is, I believe, in Las Vegas and San Antonio, that we're seeing clips of that. But we do probably about 65 to 70 brokers, just over 100 franchisors, and we try to limit that so that it's all about collaboration and building those relationships. So really looking forward to this year, which will be at the Asher Adams in Salt Lake City. So we really, even up to the amp of being more intimate, is we bought out the hotel. And so the whole event,
the whole hotel.
Yep, the whole hotel. So it is just going to be Business Alliance brokers, suppliers, and franchisors.
Yeah, incredible food, incredible entertainment, but great business, great connections, great workshops, great speakers, and incredibly memorable. And in a business where it feels like sometimes it can be isolating and feel like there's a sense of that loneliness factor sometimes, this really comes into play. And so these last couple of photos are really cool. It's the last night of last year's conference. We kind of took everyone out to this unique spot kind of in the desert where they set up this corporate dinner and just a night to just kind of capstone the whole conference really well, of food, hanging out. We had hot air balloon rides, live music, just a blast all the way through, and a picture
Amazing.
of our BAI team as well. So so this is not thank you for sharing that, Gina, because I want to reiterate too, this is not just about gaining access to brands. Right? This is a platform. We're a network and a support system. So now, with all that said, let's get to the most important part of today's webinar, because up to this point, all of you've only heard from those of us on the corporate side, on the network side. Now you're going to get to hear from someone on the consultant's side, someone actually doing this daily. Deb Tandy took more than 14 years of franchise and executive level leadership experience. She blended it into her role as a franchise consultant. She is CEO and founder of Access Franchise Consulting and a highly valued member of Business Alliance Incorporated. She was a former multi-unit franchisee and a longtime CFO before that. And she's quickly built a very highly successful franchise consulting business. And she was even awarded the prestigious Network Champion Award last year at the 2025 BAI conference. So without further ado, Deb, welcome to the webinar.
Hey, Jared, how are you?
Doing really well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Deb, thanks for bringing your insights today. It's going to be great. Let's start with sharing your story a little bit, your background, and then how you came to this transition to choose franchise consulting as your next move.
Sure. So I had a brief career in the healthcare industry, realized that wasn't for me, got a business degree and an MBA, and I had a long career in the automotive industry and got laid off after 9/11, as a lot of people did. I was the Ford account manager for a French automotive interiors company for North America, and was let go for the first time in my life. Hurt my feelings. It was very insulting. And of course, I got another job, but then rethought my whole life and my plans and had a baby and took a buyout and then moved across the country from Detroit to Houston. And career number 3, I was a stay-at-home mom and used my MBA for the PTO. And then I fell into franchise ownership and I loved it. I felt like it just capitalized on all of my skills and education. And it was like anyone who has an MBA, it's like your hardest case study, but it's real and it's your money. So, yeah, that was great. And I loved it so much. And I really felt like I was where I was supposed to be. But then I lost my passion for the business. And I firmly believe that you really need to be engaged in what you're doing every day. You have to have joy and passion for what you do. You have to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
So the great thing about franchising is not only are you building revenue, but you're building a saleable asset. So I executed my exit strategy, sold the business. And I've been really active in Rodeo Houston for about 7 or 8 years and on their leadership team. And I volunteer for a couple of local animal rescues. One, I just volunteer. The other one, I do their books because they can't afford a bookkeeper. And it's just, I have an MBA in finance. So it's pretty easy for me to do that. And I sold my store and I took about 6 months and I just volunteered, decompressed. And I was also at a point where I felt like my kids were slipping away. You know, my daughter was in college, my son was going into high school, and I felt like I missed so much because a retail business is 24/7 sometimes. And after about 6 months of just, decompressing, doing projects and volunteering, I posted on LinkedIn that I was open to work. And my friend Jeff Weiss called me and said, "Hey, here's what I've been doing. I think you'll love it. I think you'd be great at it." And he and I were in the same franchise system, and we were both very active in the franchise. And I said, "Well, I'll take a phone call." So had a call with Gina Johnson, and I was instantly smitten. And here we are. That's all she wrote.
Awesome. And then, was there anything particular about when you looked into BAI, anything about BAI that struck you as, this is the right organization for me to partner with besides the model?
Well, it's funny because I had never heard of a franchise consultant in my life.
Yeah.
And after I talked to Gina, I talked to a friend who was a regional developer for my old franchise, and he had actually used a broker to get started. So, and that was, 30 years ago. I didn't know that was a thing 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But what I really liked was the people. I liked the moral compass, the culture, and the dedication and the support. I just, I really connected with the people, and I'm a relationship person. Everything I've ever done is relationship based. And for my next chapter, I kind of wanted to take all of my experience and education and turn it into something that has an impact. Well, you can't get any more impactful than this, really.
Right. Yep. Great point. There's a lot of ways to make money. If you're going to make money, why not do it really helping people in a profound way? Right. No doubt about it. When you yeah.
I was just going to say, I'm not motivated by money now either.
Yeah.
I'm at a different point in my life. I've scratched my way up the company ladder. I've been an entrepreneur. And I mean, yes, everyone likes to make money, but I also really value purpose and impact. And this is the perfect way to showcase that for me.
Yeah, for sure. And Deb, when you transitioned, I'm sure you had some expectations and you got into the business, and of course you had people to trust like Jeff to kind of set some expectations. But when you got in, anything surprised you or anything you learned? Those kind of like maybe some aha moments as you got started in the business, any shifts that you made early on that you think were important?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I was like, I can totally do this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a little bit harder than you think. I feel like I have the right skill set, and that's important. And being a person who, that was the other thing I didn't mention. I do a lot of veteran mentoring too, through ACP and through Texas A&M. And you need to be someone who wants to be a cheerleader for people and someone who likes to see other people win. And that was great for me. I loved it, but I realized it wasn't quite as easy as I thought. Like finding people who actually want a business, who have business acumen, who can afford to buy a business and run a business, and have the capital and the wherewithal. It's harder to find than you think.
Yeah, for sure. There's not a store or location where everybody who's looking for a franchise is hanging out. If
it were that easy, everybody would be a franchise broker.
Yeah. But nonetheless, as I talked even previously, where if you get some good disciplines and routines and practices in place, you could really build something great. Maybe share with us a little bit about what the day-to-day would look like. I'm sure people would want to know what that might look like in this business. If you're playing this business to win, What does the day-to-day look like? Can you share some insights on that?
Sure. You definitely, one thing that Jared mentioned was it's not passive. You can't be part-time. I firmly believe and not just in this industry, in any industry, if you do part-time work, you get part-time results, right? If you want to do something and you want to be good at it, you need discipline, you need dedication. Have you ever read Atomic Habits? I love that book. And, I took it to heart. I read it in a book club a couple years ago. And I think if you're a person who can live like that, this is a great industry for you. If you're someone who just kind of wants to dabble, this probably isn't what you're looking for. But if you're someone who genuinely likes people and genuinely wants to help people and wants to build long-term relationships, it's great. And, I spend, I don't even know what percent of time on the phone every single day. And I love that. But if you're not someone who wants to talk to people and meet people every day, you're not going to be excited like I am.
Right. Yeah. And, you brought a lot of experience, a lot of skills, obviously, to the table, no doubt about it. Anything particular that you were really focused on? Any skill set or trait that you felt was particularly valuable that you have been really leveraging here at BAI that come to mind?
I think one is being unstoppable.
Yeah.
If if you're someone who gets your feelings hurt easily, or you don't want to just keep pushing through, it's not a great fit. I'm somebody who's competitive, I'm dedicated, I'm disciplined. So, I make those phone calls whether I want to or not. I follow up whether I want to or not. If I haven't heard back, I push the people. If we're waiting on funding, I push the funding people. And, maybe they like that, maybe they don't. Maybe the franchisor isn't communicating as much as they could. So, I look at myself as the champion for the people I work with. My loyalty is to them and I want to help them succeed.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. And a lot of people, I think, get into this type of business, a home-based business, where they know you got to work hard, you have to be disciplined. I think people also want to enjoy their success too.
Right.
Freedom and flexibility is something like most people seem to aspire to want, especially when they're solopreneurs, want to be in the consulting space. Maybe share with us a little bit about how your lifestyle has changed and how you're able to find balance for you. And it's different for everybody, but what does balance and flexibility mean to you in this business? How have you been able to shape your lifestyle the way you want it within this business opportunity?
Yeah. And you hit it on the head. I think that balance looks different for everybody. For Jared, he's got young kids who play sports. So he can fix his schedule so that he can be at every game. For me, it's spending time with my son in high school, going to his lacrosse team games, seeing my daughter, visiting her at grad school. And like one of the biggest things that I share with people who are interested in this is last summer we were on vacation, and my job as the mom, I'm the one who gets up, I go secure the lounge chairs, I get the towels, I get the front spot, and I brought my work with me. And I called a woman and I said, I'm sorry, I'm in a lounge chair on the Gulf of Mexico. If it's noisy, it's the waves. I apologize. I'm on a family vacation. And she said, why are you calling me? And I said, well, because I have an hour until my family gets here. So I'm having a coffee and calling people to see how I can help them do what they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. And you mentioned before, you're motivated by making an impact,
right.
And I was curious, are there any like moments that tend to be your favorite? Is there like the moments within this role that you really kind of cherish and find pretty special that you might share with everybody today?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are so many people, like every single person I feel like I've worked with is special for a different reason. My end game isn't meet you, find you a company, good luck, Godspeed, have a nice life.
Right.
Like, I want to maintain a relationship with these people. I want to watch their success because their success is my success. And I have had more than one person say to me, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. If I hadn't met you, I wouldn't have ended up in this place. And like, it just makes me want to cry, it
Yeah.
warms my heart because that just means I'm doing the right things.
Yeah. That's awesome. And we love that you wear your emotions and your carry on your sleeve. We love that about
It's
you
true.
and your leadership. Yeah.
I don't really have a game face.
You're genuine.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think, that's really important in this business. When you ask what traits, being disciplined, being dedicated, but being positive, being excited for other people, being a cheerleader, but also, yes, being genuine. And when people talk to me to try to do what I do, well, you can't be me, be you.
Right.
Be your genuine self.
Yeah. And you think about the world today and how change is happening so rapidly, and headlines are just attacking our minds with all kinds of things going on, and things can be uncertain and scary at times. But we got to keep on keeping on. And when you're in the middle of making a big decision and a life transformation decision, isn't it great to have someone that has just really got your best intentions at heart and going to stand by you with no agenda other than helping you find the right vehicle, the right opportunity, and you get to step in that every day. What final, advice might you share with people that are seriously looking at this opportunity? Maybe something that they should consider or weigh as they make their decision if this is right for them. Any final thoughts on that you would encourage people to look at?
Sure. I would say, are you prepared to capitalize on your current relationships? One of the biggest things for me in this business is having developed relationships with franchisors and franchise developers, and just really getting to know that culture. Because, that's first and foremost for me when I'm helping people to put them in the right place is this culture a match for you as a person? So you have to be a good listener. You have to listen to what people say, but also what they don't say. And you have to be willing to talk people off the ledge and understand it's not going to happen overnight. I had a lot of success out of the gate, and then things went sideways rapidly. And, that was a little comeuppance. But, just know that you can't count on anything. If this is something Jared mentioned, if you need a specific income, if you don't have the cash flow to be able to do it effectively, it's probably not for you. But if you genuinely want to help people and you're willing to put in the effort, it is so rewarding. I love it so much. And I mean, one of the candidates who had said he wouldn't be in the right place without me, when his baby daughter was born, sent me a picture of her from the hospital and said, Auntie Deb, here she is.
No.
And, like, that's real. That's a genuine connection with somebody. And it means everything. If you want that, this is a great place to be.
Yeah. Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it very much.
Wow. Thanks for sharing, Deb. Genuinely, your experience and your time too. Just being on here on the call today has been incredibly valuable. John, let's do this. Let's ground this in reality for a second too, because I think a lot of our audience is now wondering, can I do this? Could I be successful at this? Right. So can you share, my last question for you is this, could you share, what does it take? What does it really take to succeed in this business?
You just got to be a Deb Tandy. That's all you got to do.
I just said, don't try to be me, be you.
Yeah. A couple things come to mind, and we've already hit on it quite a bit, but just to elaborate further, our most successful brokers have a sense of maturity and mental toughness to them. They just do. And I think it's important because we have long sales cycles, right? There's it's a complex decision and that we're helping people on. There's a lot of ups and downs to it. Nothing ever is a straight line, right? And we're trying, as Deb mentioned, we're trying to find a very unique individual, right? And so it takes an incredible amount of patience. And if you're the kind of person that needs this instant gratification, you'll probably struggle. sometimes like getting in shape, probably not your challenge, Jared, but for me anyways, you diet and you exercise, and you get on the scale and nothing changes. And then you gotta have the mental toughness to go be productive tomorrow again without that instant feedback. I don't know if you've guys heard of this, but you gotta pass the marshmallow test. Now that you've heard of that, but I'll briefly share it with you. In the 70s, University of Stanford, the marshmallow test, they put marshmallows in front of these young kids. And make a long story short, they said, we're going to put one marshmallow in front of you. If you eat it quickly, you get the one marshmallow. But if you can abstain from eating the one treat in 5 minutes, we'll give you a second treat, right? And so they monitored these kids reacting to whether or not they were going to be disciplined enough to hold off from the marshmallow, from the treat, and wait and get more later, or take the instant gratification. And then they tracked the results. And by the way, it was like 1/3 of the kids were able to withstand from eating the one marshmallow and get more treats later.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, you guys, years later as adults, those kids who were able to pass the marshmallow test to put off the one treat for more treats later, they had better SAT scores, better body fat percentages, and better, social economic results, so to speak. So pretty amazing. And I think we all have that challenge to be able to kind of overcome our pulse for instant gratification. I think that's important here. You have to trust the process, but you also have to trust yourself, really, but yes, you're investing in this opportunity and the support system that BAI has and in the industry, but most of all, you're really investing in yourself and knowing that, if I do the right things consistently, I know the results are going to be there, and have that kind of faith and confidence and maturity. That would be one big one there. And then another one is you really can't be a behind the scenes spreadsheet analytical person entirely. You really need to get out there and market yourself. You've got to, you can't stand behind a product. You got to get out there. You got to get on calls like this. You got to go talk to people. You got to go write articles perhaps, and be that expert out there in the marketplace, and do some things on social media and make phone calls and engage and build relationships with our franchise partners and our other vendors and other brokers. You've got to continuously be learning so that you can share great insights with your clients. Your clients deserve that. And they need you to be fully engaged in the industry so that you could be that source of advisement and insights. And so that would be another one. And then, finally, as we mentioned, you got to step into this trusted mentor role where you're helping somebody make a very important decision, and you need to be that person that they confide in, and you need to be able to help them maybe overcome some fear, right? And just kind of help them get to where they want to go. It's like I shared with you, Jared, my favorite analogy of what a coach actually does comes from the word stagecoach, which way back in the early 1900s was a horse-drawn carriage that would pick people up and take them where they want to go. And so you're a coach within the franchising industry. You're like that carriage to take your clients, to pick them up and take them where they want to go, using franchising as this amazing vehicle, right? And then not only the robust economic role of franchising in our economy, but then the specific resources and the opportunities that we have, the network, the relationships we have with our franchise partners to step into the BAI environment, extract all the resources, make that your race car. And then you step in and be that fearless driver that's on a mission to help as many people as you possibly can, right? And that old saying from the late great Zig Ziglar, right? You get what you want in life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And we get to do that in a very meaningful way every day here at BAI, but it does require a pretty special person to really focus in this manner and, be that mentor and be that leader for your clients. A lot of times when it comes to business opportunities, we hear things like anybody can do this. All you got to do is plug into the system. And the reality of it is, not everybody could do this.
Yeah, true.
The things that Deb talked about today, Gina talked about today, and you talked about today, and I alluded today, is you really have to be able to see yourself stepping into this role that we have been trying to describe today. And
Yeah.
if you can, it can be really, really tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for unpacking that, John. And because from our entire onboarding process to the training that will walk alongside you, walk you through, to our ongoing coaching, to our mastermind roundtable groups, to our proprietary softwares and our brand portfolio, and just the number of the tools, assets, assessments, social media help, the number of things that we provide and surround you with really is designed to help set you up for success. But it's not, as we've talked about, passive, but it's also not complicated. I dare you
Right.
to find a simpler business model than this. And so I just want to say thanks for unpacking all of that and everything. So, I want to respect each one of your guys' time. So again, thank you. Thank you for joining us, each of you, with this, all of you. And Deb, again, thank you for doing this. Get back to building your business and helping other people find franchising. John, Gina, thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise. And I'm gonna wrap up and kind of give some next steps for our audience today. So until then, I appreciate you guys. Okay?
Thanks.
Let's bring it all together this way. If you've been listening to this and thinking, yeah, this actually makes sense for me, then here's what I would tell you. The next step is not to sit on this for a few weeks. Okay. As you know, that's not how business is done. The next step is to start a conversation. Okay. What we'll do from here is pretty simple. You can scan the code on the screen, or even in the comments. I'm going to drop a link that takes you to the same place if you'd rather click on the link. But because on this, you can, there's a page here. It's going to give you a lot to access. You can scroll through and access more content or Zoracle assessment, but you can also schedule a discovery call. And that's the next step for you today, is schedule a discovery call with me, either for tomorrow or sometime next week. And we're going to walk through a mutual evaluation process together, because you're here. And really, because you're here today, then you're most likely thinking about your next move. Right. And at some level. And I know it's an important decision. So I want to ask you this question: based on everything that you've heard and the people that you met today, can you see yourself being successful and enjoying the role and the lifestyle of a franchise consultant? I don't know if this is the right opportunity for each of you or not. We don't know that yet, but I do believe you owe it to yourself to find out. So if you want to explore this opportunity further, let's schedule a brief introductory call at your earliest convenience. Because listen, at the end of the day, your experience has incredible value that genuinely can save many, many, many people from terrible investment decisions that could ruin their lives. And your experience could help them achieve their own dreams of business ownership instead. So the question is, are you ready for your next move? If you are, let's talk. Until then, thanks for joining us, everybody.
I've been in this industry for a long time, and there's different qualities and different levels of different organizations out there, and BAI is truly at the top.
Brandon at the helm, you have people like Heath and Christina and Sheena. Just the core group of the corporate staff at BAI has done such an incredible job.
This is our first time at the BAI conference, and we've just been really impressed. It's been awesome. It's great just to get together, meet face to face, and we're just excited to keep those relationships going past the conference.
BAI has a culture
It
as
sure
well.
does.
All right, the professionalism, less is more, quality not quantity.
It is a little family. It's an extended family.
Yes.
And everybody helps everybody out.
It's amazing time which I'm spending with the BI team. If I want to be very honest with you, it's probably the best time which I have spent in many years.
Yeah.
If they've never been to really any broker conference,
Yeah.
This would be the best one to start to. It really gives the opportunity for more intimate conversations. Franchising is a lot of fun, and you're going to have a great time here. and it's a fun community to be a part of.
It's a competitive spirit, right? But we cheer for each other.
Yeah.
Not just for ourselves.
Yeah.
BAI was my very first 2 weeks at Neighborly last year.
Oh.
And so this set the tone for how I was going to be working with different broker networks. This is 5-star.
BAI, the people here are great. We work together. We're a team.
Yeah.
And the consultants are great. And there's nothing that makes me happier than sending a BAI consultant a check when we close the deal.
I think BAI is a very, very special group of professionals that has elevated this whole game of franchise brokerage. If you're a franchisor out there and you don't come to BAI or you're not a member, do it, because not only do you have a very well run conference, the brokers that are here are absolutely top notch. Couldn't be happier with BAI.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Business Alliance, it's not about us. You know, this has nothing to do with Brandon Clifford, the CEO, or Gina Johnson, our president. What we really are is we're just a platform. We're here to allow brokers, brands, and suppliers to connect with one another, to elevate their business, to really encourage people to bet on themselves and become a business owner through the business model of franchising.